Yeah. Hard. Militant-minded, general, nine-gripped, equipped with blades and a pen that can sharpen your spine's tip. Level-headed, though my mind flips from side to side. With an acrobat's experience after I stick it, I'm luring down a demon-possessed Ahiye. Seems Jay's the best for the job with no code.
What's the word, y'all? It's KTR _podcast, another roast podcast. You are now live and direct with your boys, Big Harv, Cinko, and Jabo himself for episode 35 of KTR podcast. That's right. Hashtag KTR. We are KTR. We are here. We are live. And my brothers, how are y'all doing today?
Terrific, brother. Can't complain. Harv, what about you?
Big Harv, how you feel?
Yeah, we're alive. We're alive.
What a time to be alive. You and yours. Me and mine. You know, that's what Drake used to say on there. What a time to be alive. Okay, never mind. But anyway, before we dive in this episode, we're going to ask y'all to do one little simple favor for us real quick. And I hope I do not forget this because in the introduction, I almost forgot my name. That's why I said Big Harv's name first. But make sure y'all follow us on all social media platforms, KTR _podcast, Twitter and Instagram, Another Roast Podcast, Facebook, YouTube. Know the Roast Podcast on all podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Podbean. We are on everything. And don't forget to get your merch at ProWrestlingTees.com/KTR podcast. And make sure y'all go subscribe, pump those numbers, get them views up, get them listeners up, get those ratings up, get those numbers up, pump them numbers, please and thank you. Now, we got that out the way. Let's get down to business. You know, we got a number of things in the WWE community to talk about. But first, we're going to dive real quick in the AEW world, real fast, just real fast. You know, I'm going to touch on something that literally just dropped today. I believe it was today, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, with that being said, it looks like AEW, which is All Elite Wrestling, and the Owen Hart Foundation, a nonprofit organization, are teaming up for doing a little collaboration. Using name likeness, having an Owen Hart tournament in the future, you know, just more things to come within that realm, within their wrestling world, AEW. I just want to see, how do y'all feel about that announcement, and how you think this will conflict with stuff that goes on with the WWE, since they do have somebody from the Hart family in that business, actually more than one, actually. But yeah, how do you feel?
This is actually a deep one. This one is a very close and personal means, not just to the WWE, but to the wrestling world. It seems like Tony Khan and friends are really trying to right the wrongs the WWE has done and really do not care for over the years. Like, for example, you know, we can all look at CM Punk, somebody who gave up on the wrestling business because of how WWE does their business. Doesn't mean WWE is 100% wrong, but, you know, they do business their way. CM Punk wanted a different way. And AEW said, well, hey, look, let's see if we can right those wrongs. And it looks like that's what they did. The Owen Hart situation has been back and forth for years, to the point where it's like, you know what, hey, the Owen Hart family, they have their opinion on their side, WWE has their opinion on their side. That's why they never collectively worked out. But Tony Khan and friends said, hey, let's make it better. And so now they're not only able to use Owen Hart's name and likeness, you know, they're also going to have a tournament. They're going to have all these charity organizations. It's beautiful. It's something that the wrestling world, they probably didn't ask for specifically, but needed. We need a closure on the Owen Hart situation. Now we're honestly able to do it the right way with wrestling. So I think it's great.
Big Harv.
Yeah, Tony Khan, they got their fingers on the pulse of the wrestling fans. Whether it's the older ones, the nostalgic crowd, or the new school crowd, they're doing a good job pleasing both. Owen's legacy has never really been done justice in WWE. His wife never liked him being mentioned in WWE, never liked him being associated with him. And I understand why. If you look at how the situation was handled, the show must go on, in the infamous words of Vince McMahon. And they really only bring his name up to drum up any type of storyline drama or some type of, you know, little cheap reaction. And I feel like the AEW is going to do it better. They're going to make him remembered properly. And I think that his family and his foundation are going to be a lot happier working with AEW than they were with WWE.
That's deep, considering the fact, like, especially how long WWE's been, you know, in the public eye and relevant in mainstream media and in the wrestling business as well. And to see that a newcomer, you know, a new promotion, which has been a big promotion since it's stepped foot in the business, to do some deep work like that, to include something of, you know, that magnitude, that stature, just with that name and that brand, it's just big on its own already, just to come into that business. So we're gonna see how it goes and see, you know, what comes about and see what happens in the future. You know, maybe a change with the Hart Foundation and Owen Hart Foundation as well come into AEW. So we're gonna see about that. But moving on from that, since we're talking about, you know what, I didn't have a transition for it, so I can't even lie. We're just gonna go to the next topic. My mind, bro, was like, well, damn, I ain't got nothing right now. So we're talking about WWE, we're gonna go to WWE real quick. So lots of changes have been happening with the WWE. You know, this probably be a good title for this episode, changes, because there's a lot of changes with new WWE title, new NXT, draft coming up. We got a lot to talk about right there. No, which one we're gonna touch on? Let's start with, we're gonna build from the ground up. We're gonna start with the developmental business aspect of the brand. We're gonna talk about NXT 2.0 real quick. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of new faces. We're gonna say get out the way now. They definitely cleaned house. Yeah, of what they wanted to get rid of, and they are really starting fresh and starting new. You know, personally, you know, I don't like change, but change is sometimes needed. And the setup, it wasn't bad, you know. They got the little new like hip hop vibe going on with the theme of NXT 2.0 and everything. You know, I don't know if it comes from that hashtag actually going around lately with the Black Wrestlers Draws thing. I know y'all seen that, you know, around recently. You know, I think maybe they're trying to use that enough to gravitate more attention, or maybe they're actually giving us the opportunity that we so-called deserve. And yeah, deserve. Ain't no nothing need. We deserve it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But with that, what do you think about NXT 2.0 so far and what they have displayed and what is to come in the future? Trash. I'm gonna let you. Yeah, you talk on because you thinking about it right now.
The biggest thing to come out of that episode of NXT was the fact that Rick Steiner's son was not going by his name. That's the biggest thing to come out of that episode. Trash. It was a pointless revamp of a show that was doing just fine. That was excelling. That was exceeding expectations on a regular basis. It's just trash. It's just I don't care about it. Doesn't matter to me. I will say that was Bron Breakker is his name. He did promising. I'm sure they got some promising cats down there because they just been sitting on them. They've been sitting on cats that's not indie for a long time. So I hope that it gets better, but I wasn't a fan of it. I'm good on it as far as right now.
J-Bo.
They're not going to cater to the wrestling fans. Let's just be 1,000,000% honest. NXT 2.0 is not for the wrestling fan. What NXT was for the wrestling fans. That's why we had the Samoa Joe, the Adam Cole, the Johnny Gargano, the Ciampas. I mean, the list goes on and on. It's not for a wrestling fan. What NXT 2.0 is for the future of the vision of the WWE. That is it. The future of the WWE vision is not in pro wrestling. I think they made that clear. The future of the WWE is young, athletic, body-built wrestler. That's the future. And that's exactly what we got with NXT. The one thing I actually did like about it, honestly, is the element of surprise. All these cats, you know, we haven't seen before. We don't know how they're going to be in the ring. Am I expecting, you know, top tier wrestling? Of course not. But I am going to expect something different. And that's definitely what I got. I'm going to keep my mind open to be optimistic, but as long as I have my mindset knowing that I'm not going to be watching some, I don't know, Gargano versus Ciampa style wrestling, then I think I'll be fine. That's just me.
Okay, so quick question before we transition to the next topic. Since Ciampa is the current NXT champion right now, who do you think will be the person to dethrone him? Who's going to be next up in line for that title?
Braun Breaker. They have to use somebody who's currently in NXT, because they wasn't going to give it to that tall guy that just came in. They're not going to give it to him right away. They have to build up this Braun Breaker guy, because if that has shown anything, he's going to be next up. He's also going to lead the organization. Him and our guy Carmelo Hayes. Both of them is probably going to lead the next new brand of NXT. They have to have a current NXT mainstay in Ciampa, and then have Braun Breaker, the next new face of NXT 2.0, to dethrone him. That's the only way it'll make sense. So yeah, Braun Breaker would be the one to dethrone him.
Big Harv?
Yeah, Braun Breaker is, to me, they put. I'm guessing that they knew that the people would figure out who he was, and that would help build up his background without them having to do it. I guess would be what they were going for. I'm not sure, but he's the only one right now that sticks out to me. It also made me think about. I feel like this is a desperate attempt by Vince to have something more than what he has when he does eventually pass. Because if you look at his past year and what the situation, the worldwide situation, everything that he lost the network to the Peacock. He lost the XFL twice now. The Rock bought the XFL. Everything that he was trying to do to leave a further imprint than professional wrestling has pretty much failed. And it feels to me like because mortality is catching up with him, that maybe he is trying to get a grasp back on his original creation and keep it in his image. You know what I mean? Like I don't feel like this wasn't a smart move by Vince. It wasn't a money move. It's not. He's losing money doing this. He's lost so much money over the past year, and it doesn't seem like a smart move. Just don't seem smart to me.
Yeah, that was a good insight, but I didn't think about that deep. But you got a point there. With that, yeah, you like I said, Braun Breaker looks like how they're doing him, backstage and with promo reasons. It looks like that he would be next up. Carmelo Hayes has that contract. He can invoke whenever he wants a title match. Personally, to me, it looks like he might go for the mid-card title for the North American Championship, possibly. Maybe, I'm not sure. He did have some good matches with like the mainstays of people on NXT before they left out, but you never know. It depends on the direction of, honestly, what Vince wants to do, because Triple H isn't running things currently right now because he's still recovering. God bless his soul. Hopefully, a speedy recovery from that cardiac surgery, I believe, or something along those lines. But yeah, but we're gonna see what happens with that contract. See if they actually let him use it and quote unquote cash in, become the next title holder or whatever title he goes for. But yeah, so hope for the best with him. It's our guy. Hope he make it through and make it to the main roster and excel and be the future of WWE. But with that, speaking of the future of the WWE, this is part 2 of another horrible transition. I can't get it right today.
Waiting. I was waiting to see what it's going to come out.
I was too. Shit. It was in my head. I'm like, it's gone now. But we're going to talk about the WWE title now, how it went from black to black. Big E cashed in his money in the bank on Bobby Lashley on Raw as a SmackDown superstar. And now he is the new WWE champion. WWE Big E champion. That is him. He finally got his dues in. He's finally champion. We saw this coming from a year ago when we were going through the pandemic era, and it has finally happened. How do y'all feel about Big E being champion and what is there to come? Big Harv, go. I know you got something to say.
No, I'm happy with it because we did call it. This is what we hoped for when I forget who it was that went out with an injury. I think it was Woods, and when they broke up the New Day and all that. But this is what we hoped for. We were upset because he got a mid-card title. That's not what we wanted. He won the briefcase. Still, we're unsure because of how they've been treating the briefcase. But this is ultimately what we wanted for Big E, is for him to get a world title reign. So I'm happy with it. I'm not happy with Big E talking about it's not a status quo that they're trying to fill. That's a situation, conversation for another day. But I am very happy that we have another black champion, and hopefully he has as good a reign as Bobby Lashley did. So I can really hope for. Hopefully he don't lose the title more akin to how Kofi did.
Yeah.
How you feel, J-Bo?
One thing I will definitely say, I need to give a shout out to Bobby Lashley. His WWE Championship reign was phenomenal. It was dominant, and it's exactly what I expected for it to go. And so the fact that he lost to Big E in a Money in the Bank cash-in, I'm perfectly fine with that. But as far as Big E is concerned, another thing that I like about this championship win is that Big E came in as this, this dominant big guy when he was with Ziggler and AJ, and try to keep that same mode. But then he relaxed when he got with the New Day. I felt like he was able to be comfortable and be him, and he did not have to change that type of person to eventually become WWE champion. So that is beautiful in itself. I like the setup. I liked how he just simply said, hey, look, I'm going to go on Monday Night Raw. I don't care who wins. I'm cashing it in. We saw something similar to that, like with John Cena. He said when he was going to cash it in. RVD said when he was going to cash it in. Big E, he did it like the weekend before and carried it out. So that whole setup was just nice, in my opinion. Everything about it was great. I'm just looking forward to see how this reign will go.
How long do you think it will go for?
A couple months.
Yeah, he ain't gonna make it probably about as long as Lashley, and that's pushing it. I don't even think he's gonna go that long.
Yeah, not half a year. I wouldn't go half a year.
True.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna see what happens, but at the same time, at the end of the day, we are proud that he is champion. He deserves it, and we hope if he does lose it again, we hope he earns it back again, not just be a one-time champion. But we're gonna see what happens in the future, because the future is unpredictable right now. It's kind of fuzzy because we don't know where people are gonna end up at. That's what the WWE draft is coming up for. It's coming up in like a week, actually. Yeah, October 1st. On SmackDown. That's where it's gonna start. And now people's gonna be on different shows, different programming. People may get broken up again. People may get back together again. May have reunions. May have some returns. We don't know what's gonna happen, but we're gonna see. Hopefully, some people from NXT get drafted up to the main roster because it needs to happen. It needs to happen. Like Ciampa, he needed to come on the main roster. He playing. I'm sorry. He NXT champion, but he need to be up there. Karrion Kross, get your ass up on here too. Yeah. Like Samoa Joe, come back when you're healthy. And I would say Johnny Gargano, but for no obvious reason, he just needs to stay at NXT. But yeah. But how you feel about the draft? What do you think would happen?
I can't really say what will happen because I don't know. This draft seems kind of, lackluster. I don't know why.
A lot of superstars are gone.
Yeah,
we're used to. So yeah,
they got rid of so many people. The draft don't really matter this year. I feel like the last draft that we talked about had a lot more potential than this one. It doesn't. They cut half the roster. All you really are doing is hoping for people to come up from NXT. And half the people you named want to leave. Ciampa don't want to go to the main roster. He'd rather leave. Gargano don't want to go to the main roster. He'd rather, that they're not going to keep him down there given what they're doing. So I feel like it's going to be a larger exodus from NXT soon once these people start letting their contracts run out. I read an article about a bunch of contracts that didn't get extended when they were offering extensions before the pandemic. And now all these people contracts coming up as late as early next year. That's Candice LeRae. She was the latest. I know Gargano and Ciampa's coming up pretty soon. Even Kevin Owens is coming up soon. He didn't extend.
Yeah,
I'm not really excited about the draft. Not enough power players right now for the draft to even be that important.
So yeah, I agree. There's nobody from NXT where even if they would want to or not, I wouldn't want to. I think wrestling fans would not want to see Gargano or for that sense Ciampa to come up to the main roster because they know they're not going to get the type of in-ring screen time that they did in NXT. If I had to give any type of insight, I think the only two people that may benefit from a draft is Drew McIntyre and Keith Lee. Drew McIntyre, he dominated Raw for a long time, so I can see a good switch up on SmackDown. And Keith Lee, I don't know. I still remember from Survivor Series that one year when him and Roman Reigns was going at it as the last two people. I could see bringing that back up if he goes over to SmackDown, if Reigns is still champ. So those are the only two I can see them doing something with. But other than that, I don't really care.
That was actually a good insight on Drew McIntyre because that makes sense. He has been dominating Raw, and like we need to see like a matchup between him and Reigns. You know, somebody take him off his pedestal. I feel like the way it was treating Drew McIntyre on Raw, it makes a lot of sense with him on SmackDown. I think this draft will actually benefit the women's roster a lot because how I'm looking at it right now. The SmackDown women's roster, when healthy, is loaded because of Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair, Bayley, Naomi, Carmella,
you say Sasha
Selena
Banks?
Vega, Sasha Banks.
Yeah,
There's several. There's several of names, like just the name alone. Look at it. Then you got Raw. You have the Queen. And Alexa Bliss.
Yeah, got
well, you got Nia Jackson and Shayna Baszler, but they just need to work them better for real. That's it.
And Asuka. I'll get Asuka too.
Yeah, Asuka. Yeah, she been on. Yeah, I feel like they just need to mix up because you need the SmackDown got the big names of mainstream media entertainment on their side. They need to bring somebody keep Bianca over there, obviously. Keep Naomi because she just came over there and everything. It's either gonna be gotta be Bayley or Sasha or Becky. One of those three. One of those three gotta come over to Raw. Yeah. Just makes sense. But the thing about all three of them are heels currently, so you gotta work around that. So somebody's gonna become a face when they come over. So it's probably gonna be Sasha at the end of the day. I feel like that makes more sense. But with the males, I feel like this is going to be a way to kind of end the whole thing in NXT. I see Dexter Lumis coming up to the main roster.
Yeah.
Because I don't see how, because they had a successful wedding on NXT 2.0, surprisingly. And I don't know how they're going to continue this whole marriage thing. Something has to happen to break them up, like how they did with Otis and Mandy Rose. They split them up on two different shows, and that just, dwindled away silently. So that's probably going to do with Dexter Lumis and Indy Hartwell. Dexter's probably going to get brought up to the main roster, and that's going to be it. And this is going to forget about that whole marriage relationship, just move on. Yeah. So, but we're going to see. All right, now last topic of the day. It's a deep one. It's a doozy. It's wild. There's a program that comes on TV called Dark Side of the Ring. And there was an episode that came on about the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, and talking about things that wrestlers were doing back in the day in an incident that involved him, quote unquote, possibly, maybe. He probably did, but hey, I wasn't alive when it happened. I wasn't there when it happened, so I ain't gonna speak on it. But some controversy happened to that because of what he was accused of doing and what another wrestler in Tommy Dreamer had comments about. And all I gotta say is, if social media was alive and well back in the day, they thought this era was bad. Oh my God. I don't think WWE would exist for real right now.
Of course not.
Yeah, but how'd you feel about that whole situation that happened on, if you did watch it with Ric Flair and Tommy Dreamer's comments and everything?
So the actual episode was about the plane ride from hell. I believe that happened in 2000.
Yeah.
So it was about a lot. It's about a lot of situations that happened on that one plane ride from what's his name, Hayes, to who else was in this. There's all kind of people was in this, some trash. Right. It was a pretty well-known story. Just some deeper details that were put out there. A lot of people didn't know about. As far as the situation with Ric Flair was about him, which has been about him his entire career, sexually assaulting women. And Tommy Dreamer is in trouble for saying it was Ric Flair being Ric Flair. Give Tommy a break. I feel like that was really out of context how people are taking it, and the fact that y'all are more upset with him saying that was Ric Flair being Ric Flair than you are at Ric Flair being Ric Flair, to me, is goddamn ridiculous. Shut the fuck up. I'm tired because people protect Ric Flair. Y'all protect, he's been racist, he's been sexist, he's been all these things his entire career, his entire life, but he's in Migo music videos and Ric Flair drip and all this other shit. Black people love him, white people love him. Shut the fuck up about Tommy Dreamer if you don't care about the shit Ric Flair does. You don't care. It's redeeming that he's an old ass white man that got all the expensive shit and do all this fancy jiving and shit, and that he's known for chastising women and belittling women, acting like he's the biggest shit in the world, and that you don't care that he's like that in real life, because as an old man, that's Ric Flair being Ric Flair. You're more mad at that statement than you are at Ric Flair actually being Ric Flair. Like, nobody cares that Ric Flair did the shit. Y'all mad at Tommy Dreamer for saying that. And to him, because he was around the guy, that statement's perfectly fine. It's 50,000 other people who knew Ric Flair, knew he was doing this shit, and didn't do anything about it. Y'all don't care about Ric Flair doing anything. Y'all don't care about Tommy Dreamer saying anything. You just want something to be outraged about. That's what bothers me about wrestling fans. Now y'all are calling to cancel this show because it's going into more detail about stories that most of us already knew. Because it's opening your eyes to the fact that your heroes are human, and they're human pieces of shit. It's just, it is what it is. Some heroes aren't meant to be found out about because they'll no longer be heroes. What's the saying? Never meet your heroes in person because they disappoint you. And that's a goddamn fact. So don't say shit about Tommy Dreamer if you ain't gonna say shit about Ric Flair. And y'all know I day one, I'd say my shit about whoever the fuck it is. I'm gonna tell the truth, and I'm gonna let y'all know. Because I've done my research. I know these stories. I know these things about these people. I'm not gonna put on the rose-colored shades and act like nothing in reality happens. Ric Flair is a piece of trash. He's always been a piece of trash. If you don't care about that, then don't say nothing about Tommy Dreamer commenting on it. It was dumb. This is the dumbest thing I've heard wrestling fans being outraged about in a long time. It was really stupid. So that was just in case anybody didn't actually know what people were upset about. They're upset about Tommy Dreamer saying that's Ric Flair being Ric Flair when it was. But y'all not. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
J-Ball. That was a lot of shit.
Yeah, but he's not wrong. That's the point. So, like Cinko, you said earlier, if social media would have been around back then, it would have been an uproar. That's a part of the problem too. Imagine if social media came out around that time, where Tommy Dreamer didn't say anything, just what happened with Ric Flair came out. Then the issue would then be on Ric Flair. But because it wasn't around that time, and then the whole history of Flair, and actually not even just Flair, it's a whole lot of wrestlers who do stuff like that, who got away with it over time. And so because social media wasn't the biggest...
Said something about like day, but nobody cares. You haven't seen Shawn Michaels' name up in lights, up under fire. Y'all don't care. But some girl, I forgot what it was. At an event, he sexually assaulted some girl, allegedly. But nobody cares. Y'all care about Tommy Dreamer saying, basically, let boys be boys, which is something that y'all still say to this day, still a credo people live by. But you mad about it. You don't care about what's happening. You care about people okaying it, but your actions are okaying it. It doesn't make.
Yeah, he's right. Like I said, they do not. The issue is not with who said what now. The issue isn't who said what. The issue is what is happening that's triggering people now. Okay, so if that news would have came out about Shawn Michaels, that news would have came out about Ric Flair when it actually happened, then guess what? People would have been triggered about that. But since that's in the past, and the newest thing is what Tommy Dreamer says, we'll forget that because this is what's triggering us now. And because this is what triggering us now, we don't care about that. This is what bothers us. What Tommy Dreamer said was wrong. And look, I'm not going to get on this rant on who was right, who was wrong, whatever. My biggest pinpoint is on the fact that you don't care. And like Harv said, you don't care. It's about what's bothering you now. It's about what's triggering you now. Forget the principle, forget the reasoning, forget the overall fact, because the truth of the matter is, because it's bothering you now is why it's a problem.
Yep. It was brought to light. That's what you're upset about.
Yeah, that's the thing about it. I mean, like I said, people really don't do their research. I mean, they'll know. And like I said, either don't care as much, forget about it. But like once it's in the public eye of social media, then that's when it gets brought to light and everybody has something to say. But at the same time, at the end of the day, that we believe we don't condone any of those actions at all. Right. Just so y'all know, we're just speaking on the matter of the fact that the timing of everything, and now everybody's just bringing it to light. You know. This situation should have been dealt with years ago.
Absolutely. In the business as a whole, wrestling as a whole. Another thing that was mentioned in the same breath was that it was normal. Who's that? Rob Van Dam on the same documentary. It was normal. He was breaking into the industry for top main event wrestlers to drug women in local towns and have their way with them. That's what he said. But where is that outrage? He's been mentioned for making the comments and for confirming them on Twitter. Nowhere near the outrage that Tommy Dreamer is facing, that he had to make a public apology. But nobody's called on Ric Flair. Nobody's called on Shawn Michaels to answer for this stuff. Nobody's called on these people that Rob Van Dam knows. That's not what you're mad about. You're mad at the light being shown, that the shadows are gone, the light is on the individual, and you didn't want to see that. You didn't want that glass to break. You didn't want to live in that reality. That's what people are upset about. That's what bothers me as a wrestling fan, and as somebody who has to deal with other wrestling fans and has to deal with the industry. I have to defend my passion and my love for this industry while also having to deal with the fact that these people largely, especially in the past, the historical figures, were pieces of shit. Living in a world where they can be exposed, but we don't want to expose them because they hold a special place in our hearts because we were children. Not children no more. That's our job as adults for the next generation in wrestling, music, everything is to make sure that the younger generation is protected. They know what happened before so that they do better. You can't do that by masking everything.
And on that note, we're gonna end it because ain't nothing to say after that now. It's real talk. It's real talk right there. I can't even say that. Yeah, but like with that being said, that's all the time we had today for episode 35. That was man. Be sure y'all check us out on I can't get my words out yet. Check us out on everything, social media, all that good stuff. Subscribe, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, KTR_podcast. Facebook, YouTube, No Ropes Podcast. No Ropes Podcast on all podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Podbean. We are on everything. And don't forget to get the merch at prowrestlingtees.com/KTR podcast. Like I said, this is episode 35, KTR, season 2, and we are out.
Or if you already told them everything, just go ahead and tell them what they should do.
Pump those numbers, baby.
Yeah. Numbers, letters, all symbols of man-made devices that could cripple us all. Improve we can panicking when storm hits and knocks out the power grid. Are you fully prepared to live off the grid? How you think?